Welcome to week 26 tech and productivity news update. Bit more news than last week. Let's start with the first piece of news, which came on the 22nd. Cursor 3.9 adds centralized plugin management. So we've got a new customized page to manage all plugins, skills, MCPs, subagents, rules, commands, and hooks. So just centralizing all that information in one single page in the Cursor app. And you can also configure extensions at user, team, or workspace level. This also features a leaderboard showing the most used plugins, skills, and MCPs across your team. And you can also install them very quickly from that same page. So if we just zoom in a little bit, we can take a look at that. That's the new customized section right there. And it's going to just show you very quickly the layout. You've got the popularity of the different skills and the plugins. You can also install them from this view. So just a nice upgraded Cursor if you're using it, especially in a team setting. Next up, Anthropic adds Claude Tag for Slack. So this is a Slack-based version of Claude that you can @mention, and it has context across a whole channel. It can remember relevant history and learns from the connected tools and data. It can also work proactively, asynchronously over hours and days, and also schedule its own follow-up tasks. So we're really trying to add this assistant that's kind of proactive inside of Slack, where most of the conversations for a lot of companies happen. Tasks usually come from there. You're having meetings. Now they're also happening on Slack. So it makes sense that Anthropic would want to bring Claude even closer to the place where the action is happening, so you can just trigger Claude to actually do some work for you. This replaces the old Claude Slack app, and the new one, the Claude Tag, is now in beta for enterprise and team customers, and it's using Opus 4.8. Next up, Krea releases their 2 raw and 2 turbo open weights image models. So these are based on their latest frontier model, Krea 2. So the raw version is the undistilled mid-training checkpoint, and it's suitable for fine-tuning and post-training. The idea is that you take this model and you do some fine-tuning, some training on it to really get it to produce the type of images that are required for the thing you're doing. Or you can use the turbo version, which is the distilled, fast, up to 2K image quality generator that runs on consumer hardware, quotes around consumer hardware. Both models have a flexible commercial license and are downloadable from Hugging Face if you're into that sort of thing. If you've never played with the Krea models, they're actually pretty interesting. The closest thing I could compare them to is the Midjourney image generators, which tend to be a bit more on the creative side, a bit less AI-like. Obviously, if you look closely enough and depending on the type of prompt you're using and the type of image you're generating, you can still tell obviously it's AI. But these new Krea models are honestly really good. It takes a lot of effort to actually look very closely and see that actually this is probably AI. Most of the stuff on the internet is probably now AI. Still, it's very good at just taking very simple prompts and adding a lot of flair to them. Whether you like that sort of thing or not is up to you. But it is interesting to see Krea AI release the models on Hugging Face for AI image enthusiasts to actually play with. On the 24th, Google released Gemini 3.5 Flash. What's special about it is it has computer use built into the model. Previously, that was available in Gemini 2.5, and they had a special submodel, so Gemini 2.5 computer use, and that's the one that you want to use if you want an agent to actually take screenshots and then know how to use the UI and manage a computer. So meant for building agents that see screens, that can reason, and then take action across browser, desktop, and mobile devices. It's available via the Gemini API and Gemini Enterprise Agent platform. The cost for this model is actually pretty cheap. It's $1.90 per million input tokens and $9 per million output tokens. Google really didn't mention much more than that. The only thing they gave us is this comparison here for OS World verified benchmarks. Here we have 3.5 Flash, here is 3 Flash, 3.1 Pro, and also looking at the Anthropic and OpenAI models. So pretty good, especially for the price. If you're using any models to run computers or do agentic things with the computer beyond just working on the terminal, then 3.5 Flash is an interesting model to look at, not just for the price, but for the capabilities. On the 25th, Notion announced that Notion Mail is winding down. So they're shutting down all the services for email, that's inbox on web, desktop, and iOS on September 22nd. The reasoning they gave is that more and more people are using their agent system to manage mail, so more users are never actually opening the inbox. So instead, what they're going to do is focus on making agents better at running email workflows instead of having this separate mail platform. So if you do use Notion Mail, you have until the 22nd to actually migrate your operations or figure out if you want to keep them inside of Notion. And lastly, on the 26th, OpenAI announced their GPT-5.6 family. I say announced because we didn't actually get anything to look at. These are going to be 3 new models, Sol, Terra, and Luna. So maybe they're actually going to get creative with the names now instead of just having numbers like 5.6. And so Sol's going to have a max and ultra mode that coordinate subagents. That's just kind of the default way that it's going to work. The price for this model is going to be $5 per million input tokens and $30 per million output tokens. I believe that's the same as the current price for GPT 5.5. Their step down model, Terra, they're touting GPT 5.5 at 2 times lower cost, which is kind of a weird way to frame it, instead of half off. So that's $2.50 per million input tokens and $15 per million output tokens. And then they also presented Luna, which is obviously their fastest and cheapest model, $1 per million input tokens, $6 per million output tokens. Still a little bit more expensive than the smallest models that they previously offered. Mini and Micro, I think, is the other one. A little bit more expensive than those. They claim they have better cyber safeguards and they are significantly improved. And all these new models are currently in a limited preview with select partners coordinated with the US government. As we saw previously, Anthropic got in trouble with their Mythos models. The American government prevented them from actually letting other people outside the states use them. So their answer was just to let nobody use them until they figure out how to actually convince the government or put in the right safeguards. And it's unfortunate to see the same thing happening with the new GPT 5.6 models. It's probably going to be a while before we get our hands on them. If we look at the benchmarks, as always, we want to take these with a grain of salt. But here we have 5.6 Sol Ultra. Here's 5.6 Sol. And right below that is Claude Mythos 5. Here we have their new Terra model, which is the one in the middle, 5.6 Terra. And this is all on Terminal Bench 2.1. So the model's ability to use the terminal to plan and execute coding tasks. If these numbers actually turn out to be true, then it's going to be pretty funny because Anthropic spent a lot of time doing a lot of marketing and drumming up Mythos as this kind of almost their AGI model. And then a week or 2 later, OpenAI releases or announces a model that's at least as powerful and it seems even more powerful than their model. So that's kind of funny. They have some other benchmarks on here about how well it does at processes around gene research and things like that. But the ones that actually stood out to me the most are this one right here, Exploit Bench and Exploit Gym. And so these benchmarks test how well these models perform at doing the entire exploit pipeline. So from investigating, researching, testing, and then executing an exploit in various systems. So they're trying to promote it as it's so much better than even Mythos. The amount of the x-axis here is the output tokens. With less tokens, they're able to do the entire exploits. And they're trying to promote it as a cybersecurity positive. But the tension there is that obviously the model doesn't know who's using it. And they're just saying the model's really good at finding exploits, investigating them, and then executing them. Isn't it great? Yeah, but the thing is, these models can be jailbroken. So I don't know, I just find that funny that they're trying to say these models are so safe, they're completely locked down, but look at how good they are at cracking security left and right. And so I don't know what the messaging here is. Obviously, they're trying to make their models look really impressive, but at the same time, they're walking the tightrope of what we saw happen with the Anthropic models, where the government steps in and shuts down their research or heavily restricts it, and then they become victims of their own success. So I'll have to see what happens, but it's pretty interesting. Can't wait to see once we actually get our hands on some of these models and test them out. They look to be pretty good and not seeing really any big price hikes. So yeah, it'll be interesting. And that is it. That's this week's tech and productivity updates. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe so you don't miss out on next week's updates. I'll see you in the next one.